Choosing a new association management system, well, it's a massive decision, isn't it? If you get it wrong, it can set your organization back years. So today, we're going to pull back the curtain on a newer player that's been getting a lot of buzz, Rhythm AMS. We'll break down whether its modern approach is the right fit for you, or if its youth is a risk you just can't afford to take. Hi there, I'm your host. As a digital marketing associate with SmartThoughts, a software advisement firm for associations and nonprofits, our whole job is to help organizations just like yours cut through all the marketing hype and make really smart technology decisions. So let's dive right in. So here's our game plan for the next few minutes. First, we'll cover the basics, what Rhythm actually is. Then we'll get into where it truly shines. After that, we'll tackle the most important part, its limitations and the trade-offs you need to consider. And finally, we'll arm you with the exact questions you should be asking your own team. Okay, so first things first, what is Rhythm? Look, to really get a handle on its strengths and weaknesses, you've got to understand where it came from, and maybe more importantly, why it was even built in the first place. Rhythm came onto the scene back in 2020, founded by a group of veterans from another well-known system, MemberSuite. And they saw this huge gap in the market for mid-size associations. You know the ones. Organizations that have outgrown the simple, entry-level tools, but just aren't ready for the cost and sheer complexity of a giant enterprise system. Rhythm was built specifically to fill that void. So here are the vitals. We classify Rhythm as a Tier 2 AMS, and it's really targeting associations in that $3 to $10 million operating budget range. But honestly, the most critical detail on this slide is its architecture. It's cloud native. That's not just a buzzword. It means it was built from the ground up for the modern web. No old clunky code bolted on. And that has huge implications for its speed, its reliability, and how fast they can roll out new features. You know, for a brand new company, they made an incredibly smart move right out of the gate. In their very first year, they locked in a partnership with Kellen, which is a global powerhouse in association management. This was a massive deal. It wasn't just a stamp of approval. It was like plugging directly into a feedback loop from over 130 different associations at once. That just supercharged their product development. Okay, so how does all that background stuff actually translate into the product itself? Let's take a look at where Rhythm really, truly shines. This quote right here, it just nails Rhythm's entire philosophy. For them, the member experience isn't some add-on or an afterthought. It's the absolute starting point for everything they build. Their focus is all about creating a portal that your members will actually want to use. Now, this is where things get really interesting, especially for your budget. Rhythm is built around the idea of configuration, not customization. What does that mean? It means you use their powerful built-in tools to adapt the system to your needs, and that's all included in your subscription. This is a completely different world from paying developers $150 to $250 an hour to write custom code, which, as you know, can easily balloon into a six-figure expense on other platforms. And this cycle is a total game changer. Instead of waiting around for a year for one massive disruptive update, you're getting new features and valuable improvements every single month. And notice where it all starts, with customer feedback. Their product council makes sure that the things they're building are what associations actually need, not just what some developer in a back room thinks they need. So if we put it all together, you can see how Rhythm's strengths are all connected. That modern architecture is what enables the continuous innovation. Their customer-first approach is what guides that innovation. And their configuration model makes all that powerful technology financially realistic by slashing those huge customization fees. Okay, that all sounds pretty great, right? But let's be real. No platform is perfect. It is absolutely crucial to understand the trade-offs you're making with any choice. And this is where having a consultant's perspective is so important. When you strip everything else away, it really boils down to this one single question for your leadership team. Are you willing to bet on a more modern technology and a smarter financial model, even if it comes from a vendor that doesn't have a decade-long track record? That is the fundamental trade-off with Rhythm. So let's just be completely transparent about the risks here. Because it is a younger platform, that long-term track record just isn't there yet. If you have some really unique or highly specialized workflows, you might find its feature set isn't quite as deep as an older, more established system. And frankly, with a smaller customer base, it's just harder to find other associations you can call up and ask about their experience. But it's so important to see these as what they are, trade-offs. They aren't necessarily deal breakers. For some associations, these risks are a really small price to pay for all the benefits. But for others, they could be major red flags. It all comes down to your unique situation. So, to help you figure all of that out, let's turn the spotlight directly onto you. Here are the questions that your leadership team absolutely must answer before you even think about considering a platform like Rhythm. First things first, you've got to get real with the numbers. Pull up your budgets from the last few years. How much money have you actually paid developers for custom code and ongoing maintenance? And then ask yourself, what could we do with that money if it suddenly went back into our programs or member benefits? Next, you need to be really honest about your organization's culture. Is your board generally risk-averse? Does your IT department always lean towards vendors that have been around forever? You could find the best technology in the world, but it's doomed to fail if it doesn't align with your organization's comfort level with risk. Now, let's think strategically. Is improving the member experience just a nice-sounding phrase in your strategic plan, or is it a driving force for your future? Because if a modern, intuitive, self-service portal is absolutely essential for your engagement and retention goals, then that weighs pretty heavily in Rhythm's favor. And finally, you've got to map out your most complex processes. Do you have some really unique certification requirements? Or complex legislative tracking needs? Maybe some unusual non-dues revenue models? You have to stress test those specific things during any evaluation to see if a Tier 2 system can really handle them without a bunch of clunky workarounds. Okay, just thinking through those questions is a fantastic first step. Now, let's talk about how you turn those answers into a decision you can feel really confident about. So here's the bottom line. Rhythm is a really strong contender, and it's an excellent fit for many mid-sized associations. But fit is the key word there. The right choice is always 100% dependent on your organization's specific context, your goals, and your budget. And I have to offer a word of caution from my own experience. In my time consulting, I have personally seen so many organizations get completely wowed by a flashy demo, only to realize a year down the road that they totally overlooked a critical trade-off. And it is such a costly mistake, not just in dollars, but in staff burnout and lost momentum. So right now, you have a balanced view. You can see the incredible potential of a system like Rhythm, but you also understand the real risks. The next step isn't to guess. It's to get expert, unbiased advice. Go to smartthoughts.net and book a free consultation with us. We can help you dig deeper into these questions and figure out if Rhythm's modern approach truly aligns with your organization's needs, budget, and culture. It's truly the best way to make sure your next big technology decision is the right one.